There was a time in America when speed was not just about sweat, gasoline, and uncomfortable bucket seats. It was about arriving in style. In the 1960s and 70s, a strange and wonderful war broke out in Detroit. It was not the famous muscle car war involving small cars with big engines. This was the war of the personal luxury car. These were machines designed for the successful man who wanted to cross a continent in total silence, surrounded by leather and wood, but who also wanted to leave a patch of burning rubber at every traffic light. These were the Land Yachts. They stretched nearly 20 feet long. They weighed as much as a small house. They had suspension soft enough to make you seasick. But under their massive hoods, they hid some of the most violent engines ever built. This was a time when luxury meant excess. Too much chrome, too much leather, and way too much horsepower. Today, we are looking back at the 9 most powerful personal luxury cars of that golden era. These are the cars that proved you could wear a tuxedo and still get into a fistfight. We begin with a rare beast born from a partnership between Chrysler and the legendary performance company, Hurst. This was the Chrysler 300 Hurst, a special edition land yacht that took the already impressive 300 series and injected it with pure adrenaline. It was a massive car, stretching over 18 feet long, looking like it could double as a luxury aircraft carrier. But do not let the size fool you. Under that acres-long hood sat Chrysler's mighty 440 TNT V8 engine. It delivered a stout 375 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. All that power was sent through a heavy-duty torque-flight automatic transmission. This combination could launch this giant from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 7.1 seconds. That is fast today, but in the 70s, for a car this size, it was defying physics. It looked like a sci-fi spaceship with its white and gold two-tone paint, a fiberglass hood with a power bulge, and a trunk lid spoiler built right into the fenders. Inside, it was pure luxury with plush seats and enough room to host a dinner party. It was the ultimate combination of muscle and class. By 1968, the Cadillac Eldorado was already famous for its daring front-wheel drive layout. But Cadillac decided that simply being famous was not enough. They wanted to be the king of the road. So, they dropped a brand new engine under the hood, the 472 cubic inch V8. This was 7.7 liters of pure American iron. This engine churned out 375 horsepower and a pavement-rippling 525 pound-feet of torque. That is enough power to tow a small moon. Despite weighing over 2 tons and being the size of a suburban patio, the '68 Eldorado could still pull off a 0 to 60 run in around 8 seconds. That is not bad for something with a hood long enough to host a barbecue on. The interior was plush city, featuring leather seats, power everything, and enough wood trim to make a forest nervous. The front-wheel drive setup was futuristic for the time, giving the car a flat floor and excellent traction in bad weather. It became the favorite car of the rich, the famous, and the mildly eccentric. Originally, the 2+2 was just an option package, but by 1966, Pontiac turned it into a full-blown street bruiser. This was a car for the man who had a family but wished he drove a GTO. It was a full-size car, meaning it could carry the in-laws and their luggage, but it moved like a muscle car. The magic was under the hood. Buyers could choose the legendary 421 cubic inch V8. If you ticked the right box, you got the tri-power setup. That means 3 carburetors working together for one mission: speed. This engine produced a thundering 376 horsepower. With a 4-speed manual transmission, this land yacht could hit 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds. That is downright rude for a luxury car. 1966 was the final year. The 2+2 was its own distinct model in the United States. It had bold badges, special trim, and a stance that told everyone at the stoplight that it was not to be messed with. Inside, you got bucket seats and enough brushed aluminum to make a fighter jet jealous. When Oldsmobile unveiled this beast, jaws hit the showroom floor. Why? Because it was front-wheel drive in 1966. In America, on a car with a 385 horsepower V8, that is like strapping a jet engine to a snowmobile and saying, "Yeah, this will work." The wildest part is that it did work. Oldsmobile used a revolutionary chain-driven transmission setup called the Turbo-Hydromatic 425. This allowed the massive 425 rocket V8 to send all its power to the front wheels without melting the gears. The Toronado could launch its 2-ton frame from 0 to 60 in around 8.2 seconds. It looked like it landed from outer space, with hidden headlights, a long hood, and a razor-sharp fastback roofline. It was so different and so advanced that it won Motor Trend's Car of the Year award in 1966. It proved that a big luxury car could also be a technological marvel. Mercury was the fancy division of Ford, and the Cougar GTE was their way of saying, hey, we can do muscle too, just with leather seats and a dash of class. And oh boy, did they deliver. They took the elegant Cougar and stuffed it with one of the most famous racing engines in history. Under the hood was Ford's mighty 427 side-oiler V8. This was the same basic engine used in the legendary Shelby Cobras and the Ford GT40 race cars that won at Le Mans. In the Cougar, this beast made 390 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. It launched the GTE from 0 to 60 in around 6.5 seconds. That is sports car territory. It was strange to see such a raw racing-derived engine in a car that looked like it should be parked at an upscale supper club. Only 357 Cougars were built with this engine in 1968, making it one of the rarest big cats in existence. In 1969, the Pontiac Grand Prix was completely redesigned. It went from being a big, comfy cruiser to a sleek, muscle-bound personal luxury coupe. The most striking feature was the nose, which was long enough to land a small plane on. But the big news was under that hood, especially if you check the box for the SJ package. This package unlocked the mighty 428 high-output V8. This powerhouse pumped out 390 horsepower and a tire-twisting 472 pound-feet of torque. It turned this stylish land missile into a rocket, capable of hitting 60 miles per hour in just 6.7 seconds. The new Grand Prix rode on a special chassis that was shorter than the other big Pontiacs, giving it tighter handling. It was known as the Gentleman's Express. Inside, it featured a wraparound dashboard that looked like a cockpit, rally gauges, and optional real walnut trim. It was the longest hood ever fitted to a Pontiac, and it had the power to back up the style. The Plymouth Sport Fury was already a big car with a big engine, but a few lucky buyers in 1970 ticked an ultra-rare box on the order form, the 440 6-barrel setup. This meant 3 Hungry Holly 2-barrel carburetors sitting on top of a massive 440 V8 engine. This setup was good for a factory rating of 390 horsepower and a mind-bending 490 pound-feet of torque. What made this car so wild was the stealth factor. From a distance, it looked like a stately barge that your uncle might take to the country club. But get closer and you would notice the twin hood scoops and the 446-pack badges. It had a deep growl that told you it was not here to play shuffleboard. It was incredibly rare. Only 66 units of the Sport Fury GT were ever factory built with this 6-pack option. It is one of the holy grails of big Mopar muscle. Cadillac had already made waves with its front-wheel drive Eldorado, but by 1970 they went absolutely crazy. They dropped in the largest production engine ever stuffed into a passenger car, the monstrous 500 cubic inch V8. That is 8.2 liters of displacement. This torque-happy giant produced 400 horsepower and an ocean-moving 550 pound-feet of torque. Driving it felt like you were sitting in a living room strapped to a rocket booster. Despite weighing over 4,800 pounds, this plush beast could hit 0 to 60 in around 7.7 seconds. That is impressive considering it had the aerodynamics of a brick wrapped in leather. Inside, the Eldorado was a rolling penthouse suite. It had thick carpeting, walnut trim, and seats so soft they qualified as furniture. Because of the front-wheel drive, the floor was completely flat, giving you maximum room to stretch out while you floated down the highway. Finally, we arrive at the number 1 spot, the 1970 Oldsmobile Toronado GT with the W34 package. The Toronado had shocked everyone when it launched, but by 1970, Oldsmobile engineers had turned into mad scientists. At the heart of this behemoth was the 455 Rocket V8, tuned to crank out 400 horsepower. But the torque was the real story. a mountain-flattening 500-pound-feet. That was enough to fling this nearly 2-ton beast from 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds. The W34 package added special high-performance parts like a hotter camshaft and a special transmission converter. It even had a wild air intake system that opened up at full throttle to let the big engine inhale like a sprinter. And the best part? It was still a luxury car. It had power seats, plush carpets, and a dashboard that looked like it came off a starship. It was rare, fast, and incredibly comfortable. These 9 cars represent a time we will likely never see again. They were unapologetic, they were huge, and they burned fuel as if it would last forever. They proved that you didn't need a tiny sports car to go fast. You could have your cake, eat it, and drive it at 100 miles per hour in total comfort. Today, cars are safer, more efficient, and certainly more sensible. But do they have the same soul? Do they have the same presence as an 18-foot Chrysler with gold stripes or a Cadillac with an 8-liter engine? I do not think so. These were the kings of the road, the titans of torque. So, tell me, which one of these Land Yachts would you park in your garage? Would you take the tech-heavy Toronado or the brute-force Plymouth? Let me know in the comments below. And do not forget to subscribe for more stories from the golden age of horsepower.